Some pretty interesting developments in the 2020 front this morning. Beto O'Rourke, who knows what he's going to do but isn't telling us yet, sent a big clue this morning. NBC News confirming that he is headed to Iowa and will make his first stop in the Hawkeye State on Saturday to campaign for state Senate candidate Eric Giddens, being supportive. A supportive Democrat, while also ginning up speculation about his own presidential plans. So check out our .com headline. Among the signs pointing to a Beto run, there's buzz this morning he may have recruited a top Iowa political consultant. And speaking of actual signs, check out the ones that were waiting for folks who came to the Joe Biden event today. Simple, clear message. Run, Joe, run. My panel, Susan, Jonathan, Doug back with me. So Beto's going to Iowa. If he's going to run, he has done either, Jonathan, a great job of building suspense or ticking people off who say, would you just tell us already?
Now, he's pretty clearly getting in, even if it hasn't been confirmed yet. The question is how he will do. And he brings two major assets to this race, beyond being a kind of a combination of Bobby Kennedy and Barack Obama for his most ardent supporters. One, he can fill arenas. Now, this didn't used to matter in American politics. Like, nobody cared if Michael Dukakis got, 6,000 or 4,000 people to his events. Nowadays, it's a way of keeping score. Related to that is that he has a small donor base, and this is critically important in this campaign because if you lose a primary, your big donors head for the hills. Your small donors stay with you. So it lets you stay in the process longer if you have a small donor base.
So let me play the other side of that, Doug. Our NBC team reports that technically Beto has hired no staff. The key folks that would be in his campaign are still volunteers. They have reportedly identified people in key states. But I guess the question is this a new way of running for president, or would he start his campaign at a disadvantage?
Well, he ran a very unorthodox race for the Senate. He didn't have consultants. He didn't have a pollster. He relied a lot on volunteers. So I'm not totally shocked by this. The train has sort of left the station, but he can catch up, and so can Joe Biden. I wonder if he missed out on some
But Joe Biden has been putting together an infrastructure. That's the difference. And he has the contacts that Beto doesn't have nationally.
That's right. And he has a name ID that Beto doesn't have. That's why I think that I said that the train has slightly left the station. I think he can catch up based off of, what we saw in Texas, his excitement, his ability. He raised $80 million in a race against Ted Cruz. He was able to cultivate a ton of small donors.
Yeah, that's another whole question about whether he raised the money or the anti-Ted Cruz faction was there.
And Chris, that's a really good question. There's a lot of mythology around that Senate race that I think what is important for Democrats and progressives to understand about Beto O'Rourke is what does he believe in, and will he be able to do what he did against Ted Cruz in a field of Democrats that are much more popular to Democrats, obviously, than Ted Cruz is? That's a question that is unanswered, and I think, it may have caused him to give some pause before he jumped in.
And yet the Club for Growth, Susan, obviously a conservative organization, released a 2-minute-long ad targeting O'Rourke. That's going to run actually in Iowa. So what does that tell us about who the Republicans are worried about?
Well, it looks like they're worried about Beto O'Rourke. And, I think right now the Republicans are monitoring the whole field. But I understand why they're scared of Beto. I think he is right now someone who poses a really interesting challenge to Donald Trump, not just because he doesn't fit into the typical box like a U.S. senator or governor, but he doesn't react the same way. When you watched him in the campaign trail in Texas, his responses weren't the typical political response that we see.
He does not look like he is answering every question with a talking point, at least at this
And that will resonate. And I think he seems that is the authenticity that he brings that I think that a lot of other Democrats do not.
All right, I want to go to what's happening right now because Joe Biden is speaking at the International Association of Firefighters Conference. I showed you that sign, when it said, "Run, Joe, run."
Closer to home.
He commented on that.
I was thinking about people. I'd like you all to, I appreciate the energy you showed when I got up here. Save it a little longer. I may need it in a few weeks. Be careful what you wish for.
Oh, So be careful what you wish for, Jonathan.
So this is the heart of Joe Biden's base. Harold Schartbarger, the head of the firefighters union, is a longtime Biden man. And so he's going, this is his sort of log cabin. You know, the problem
Yeah, I mean,
is
I think
that when
it's
you see-
important to point out, Jonathan, that this is an organization that is heavily often Republican, 316,000 members, lean Republican, but the leadership has often supported a Democrat. But I wonder, as you look at that, is this the Joe Biden who can not only get centrist Democrats, but rally some of the disaffected Trump Republicans?
Yes. I mean, he is enormously popular with first responders, many of whom, as you say, voted for Trump. But if you go back a few elections, you know, the firefighters have been with Biden before. The problem is when he's run before, he hasn't done well because for whatever reason, he has not been a successful presidential candidate in the past. Not only did he not get the nomination, he didn't even get out of the starting gate, you know, in the past. So, and when you just saw him just now, he does look a little bit, what you could call low energy, if you wanted to use a Trump insult. And there are these questions.
He's already
about
used that
whether
for
he's-
Jeb. That's
He
taken.
also hasn't been challenged in 6 years.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. He really hasn't been. And I
But
wonder,
for a lot of people who watch him, and this is what I hear being out on the road from Republicans and Democrats, he does look like the big boy, right? He's somebody
Yeah.
who goes
But
to work
let's-
every day, has been in the room.
Yep.
This was not a vice president who just sat back and you know, got a big scissors and had ribbon cuttings. He was somebody who actually was at the side, in many cases, of the critical issues facing Barack Obama.
absolutely, and he wasn't questioned by other people on that. He was with the president, and I understand what he brings to the table. I think he would be a Democrat that a lot of moderate Republicans would support. However, I just wonder how he does against other Democrats. Because, again, not being challenged and being on a stage with 10 other people who will be taking shots at you will be a different environment for the...
And my crack team who's watching him right now said he's getting fired up. We should also mention, and we've run out of time, look at there.
Now he's not low energy anymore. But he, you know, you could make an argument, Chris, that he should say he'll only go for one term. That would put him in a different place.
Run, Joe, run. They're chanting.
Shortly after that, I
Say this, he hasn't, as you pointed out, always run the best campaigns in the past. But this was a smart decision. If you're going to kind of just slowly roll out to you're announcing that you're going to run for president, go before a friendly audience like this, but that also isn't super progressive and get people shouting like that. We didn't even get to talk about Stacey Abrams saying 2020 is definitely on the table. Thank you to my panel. Fantastic all.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.